won't stop till killer cops are in cell blocks. Can't stop.
The following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No,
why would you say that? Why would you say that?
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly. Picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Sid, what's wrong with it? Improper way with it. There's no such thing as an improper way.
You gonna tell me my job, bro?
I know the law.
Are you gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get it up.
Profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Sir, do me a favor, take out your keys.
Yeah, you can record me. For what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call a supervisor? I'm about to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now.
Yeah? And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we're getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardes Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 or 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check. This is West Wednesday, number 467. We are calling for justice for all victims of police violence. Mic check, mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
So just like my brother Ben said, this is West Wednesday, and we are calling for we're calling for justice for all the victims of police brutality and a murder, which I always say we're calling for accountability. But 467 weeks is a very long time to be fighting for any days. And if I break down the days, it's 467 weeks. It's 3,269 days. We're going on 9 years. Literally, on the 18th of this month will mark a 9-year heartbreaking moment that stole my whole entire family life. Literally, my whole entire family. It wasn't just Tyrone West and one unarmed man that was brutally executed in broad daylight on video footage. To this day, we are unable to gain video footage, unable to gain accountability. And meanwhile, Bernardo Ruiz is still actively working. He's working with promotions and everything. He's a sergeant now. He's married to a state prosecutor. And the saddest part, it's so eerie and heartbreaking to me to learn. Like, I was already devastated when I first found the first victim, which was Abdul Salam, who was nearly almost killed with his son in the car 17 days before. I thought it couldn't get no worse than that. But literally, for me and my family to find a victim, literally 24 hours. So literally on July the 17th, 2013, the Darrell Harrison, and you just saw that video. He's like, what do you guys? Y'all, I feel like I don't feel safe. And he had all these array of emotions, which is accurately right and sufficient. Like, being as though they're stereotyping him, profiling him. But thank God that, he was able to articulate and let the person in the car know to upload this on the video. That's probably what saved Darrell Harris' life. I knew that in Abdul Salam case, there was an elderly woman, 80 years plus, that actually she put her body in front of this maniac Ruiz. And the fact that he's still working and nobody don't see a problem with that, and no matter who you talk to, it's all like, what the hell more do I need to prove? Like, this whole system is so dirty to the core. And though I do believe in trying to fight, advocate for reform, because I'll never stop, but I'm past reform. I'm just going to be totally honest right now at this moment. I'm past that, because at the end of the day, they have so many things that are written down in black and white that they're just not following. Or are they following it? Is it a part of the plan for us to be brutally murdered? Meanwhile, we had another man murdered, Jalen Walker. You put 60 bullets. 60 bullets. Do you know how heartbreaking and devastating that is? Every time I hear of any police brutality acts, it breaks my heart. And it's only going to get worse. It's not getting any better, because you know why? They're not holding these killers in the cell blocks. They're not. Or they're not giving them, they're not throwing, they need to throw everything, the book, the gravel, everything at these maniacs. Like, everybody that put a bullet in Jalen Walker should be held to the fullest extent of the law. Anybody that punched, kicked, stomped, pepper spray, tased my brother, those 17 stinking maniacs. I know that I always focus on Ruiz and Chapman and David Lewis, but I want Daniel Lee. I want each and every last one of those bastards. And I hope they are watching. Everyone that laid a finger, everyone that did not stop, even if you stood there and you watched this and you didn't do anything to stop it, I want you to. And it's sad that why should it take 9 years? Like, come on now, it's not like I missed a beat, like I went somewhere on vacation or I moved. The stress was so traumatic that I just said, you know what, I'm dropping these signs, I'm going to put it away, and I'm gone, and we'll just pick. No, I never, ever missed one moment of this bullshit. And for them to treat me as a way that I did, when I know that I didn't, when we had this happen with Greg Bernstein, a racist piece of crack,
a racist piece of crap that not only laughed in my family's face, they had the audacity to laugh in, before my family, Anthony Anderson was killed, they laughed in his family's face as well. Many family faces this piece of crap laugh in. No remorse, and the only thing that he can utter out of his racist mouth is, "Oh, this is good for a civil case." First of all, we don't give a damn about your money, our money, because when you kill our loved ones, you're giving us our money. That's our money, because the thing is, if I'm a provider, and I take care of my children, my baby ones, and even my grown ones, whenever they need me, I'm there dedicated. So age don't stop nothing, baby. When you're a good mother or parent, you're going to do whatever you need to do. But my whole thing and what I'm trying to say is, for them to treat our children as if, oh, well, we can just give you some money and that will replace your your parents. No, hell no. Or if the roles is reversed, it is sad and disgusting. You're supposed to pay a family that money because you took a provider away. That is your job. They wouldn't even be in no critical state where as though they're gonna need mental health, they're gonna need the bills to be paid. They would not be put into a financial crisis. But we don't give a damn about no financial crisis. We care about accountability. But the system is designed for us to feel like if they give you a payout settlement, that's retribution. And at the end of the day, when we're going through in a lot of families, and I can speak for my family, the reason why we push for civil, when you have a racist piece of trash, a human piece of crap, sit in front of your family and laugh and say, "Oh no, I'm not charging nobody with nothing. I ain't even collecting all the reports. I'm not doing a damn thing." Oh well, sad day for you. You want something done. So that's why we did the civil, to try to get some type of retribution. And to me, it was more so the paperwork included with the retribution. That's my biggest retribution. Getting these criminals in the courtroom to admit to all the torturous things that they did to my brother. And for me to actually had to live and go through the civil suit motion, just hearing these jokers, they get to come dress up in a suit, be on their best behavior. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I don't recall. Where was that energy when you murdered my brother? Because I damn sure know you didn't have it together, sir, madam, ma'am. You didn't have it together when you was murdering somebody. You didn't have it together when you was murdering Anthony Anderson, Tyrone West, Timothy Flemings, Benjamin Tyson. You didn't have it together when you murdered Kevin Cooper. The list goes on. You didn't have it together when you murdered India Kager. You did not have it together. So for you to be able to put your suit on, come in with the best attorney, the same damn attorney that represents all you killers in each town, to represent you and come in and and they know y'all killers, they know the dirt, and they don't give a damn. And that's why I felt so compelled to bring my brother on tonight, because a lot of people, and I met this brother, he's young, he's amazing. I honestly wish he would have been our mayor or somebody like, besides like who he is and what he brings to the table. I just wish he would be to the point that whereas though we could put him in office for mayor, the president, or whatever. We would not be going through this, because me and this brother, and I had him on here numerous times, but me and him literally done shut City Hall down. He done literally sat with me when I met with the mayor and different commissioners. He done sat with me like at the table and seeing all the Doug and Pony show at its fullest. And what he said always resonated in my mind, and it's so true. He said, "You cannot clean a filthy house with a dirty mop," and that's the truth. All you doing is spreading dirt from one end to the other. He said that, and I always say, like my brother, Seifu says, and he got it accurately right, that you cannot. But that's what these jokers are doing. And I just even heard tonight, early this morning, and even tonight when I turned on the news a little bit, but you actually have the law department hiding evidence, corruption. The law department is working with the police department to hide all the complaints that are filed against these stinking maniacs. And they know that that's a part of the problem. So if the law department is doing this, somebody's supposed to uphold the law. That's why I don't even believe in these laws, none of this. It's sad. It is terrible. We actually got to this point where as though it's like we traded in slavery right? For police brutality. Like, come on now. Like if we go back to the origin of policing, you know, they were designed to catch slaves and protect property. That's how they don't even look at us. They don't even consider us to be human. But the fact, and that's why I get so upset when somebody want to say, "Oh, Timothy Flemings, he had a knife in his hand." What? And you put 7 bullets in my brother for a freaking knife? Probably a butter knife? Are you freaking kidding me? But you can have these white, young, maniac, racist terrorists go and shoot up parades, and you bring them in, no bullets, nothing fired, nothing, no threat, nothing. You just bought in Robert E. I think his last name is Crimo or whatever. He sound like a criminal. I'm gonna call him Robert Criminal, okay? But you brought him in with no problem. Just like you brought that person in, the maniac in that killed those people in the supermarket. And then when those babies got shot up in that school, y'all took y'all goddamn time going and y'all saved your own kids. And I'm talking about the police. That all it took between what was happening, them saving those baby lives and that teacher life, only was a twist of a key. They took their goddamn time. It don't take nobody 2 hours to turn a freaking key in the door. But they made it so that they got their babies out safe. And had it not been, and it was so sad hearing people relive this nightmare that they're forever traumatized. They will never be right. You know, but for me to hear a mother that said she was actually arrested, placed in cuffs because she tried to save her babies, and she said, you know, let me calm down. Let me act like I'm getting with the program. And then at that moment, she acted like she was calm. And as soon as they took them cuffs over, she hopped over the wall to save her babies. And she was able to save her 2 babies. But could you imagine how she feel now as a mother, just going and being able just to save her baby, but then learning that other babies were murdered? You know what kind of trauma that she's probably in her mind, like, damn, why couldn't I grab more children? Like, it's just like, that is just messed up. So I don't want to hear nothing that America has to offer me about all this. Oh, let's just do this reform. That, man, I ain't trying to hear none of that. And if you look at these serial killers, I told you, they always between, and they white. They always white. Let's be crystal clear. 18 to 21. Because you know why they so young? They be teaching them little babies as they 3 and 4 years old how to pull that trigger on a you know what, on the N-word. They teach them babies that hate is taught. That ain't something that is something taught. They teach these babies hate, and on their 18th birthday, oh, here you go, Johnny. Here, go do your thing. Get rid of them. Let's cleanse the world. That's why, like my other sister said, hell is empty because we got all the goddamn devils right here on earth. That's why hell is empty. They're right here in our face. But I could talk to y'all all day, all night, but I'm not. I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to bring in my brother, Seyful, because now, and I'm so proud of him, he, like always, never seems so amazing, but he's actually working on a new project now that I would love for him to tell us about, and we can just finish our table talk. Mic check.
Mic check. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you again. First off, Tawanda, thank you so much for your fight and your strength and your courage for continuing on for 9 years of resisting and fighting against police brutality in Baltimore City and all across the world. I really appreciate the fact that you've never made it just a Baltimore City thing. You've always expanded and you've always took it internationally across the world. So again, thank you so much, Tawanda. I know it hasn't been easy, as easy as you make it look. I know it is not easy, and I appreciate your fight, and I commend your fight and your strength. There's a church in Waverly, St. John's Church, right off of Old York. They have some graveyards in the back of the church. The pastor's white, and they were doing some digging, I guess at one point, and they saw that there were some graveyards that were unmarked. So they had some graveyards that had names on it, but they were like tossed off to the side in a pile behind the shed. And so they decided to go and look into some of the tombstones and to see why they were moved over, why they got damaged, why they're not where they need to be. And what they realized was that all the graves, all of the tombstones that was tossed off like that were from Black people, and that they had basically lived anywhere from the 1800s on through. And so a lot of them had their graves moved over so that way, as white folks continue to pass away, they could make space for their graveyards. And so that's what was happening, was this church had a racist legacy of having racist pastors who would remove tombstones to make space for other tombstones, folks that they deemed more respectable, more worthy of commemoration. So you've got these big old steeples, these tall tombstones for pastors and clergymen and all these people. But then you have Black people from the Civil War week on through who had their tombstones literally casted aside and piled up like trash, like garbage. And so what the current pastor wanted to do was have a ceremony where not only would they put the tombstones back where they were, but they would have a celebration, kind of an event to properly commemorate those bodies and those lives that were lost. And so, yeah, this play is taken as a part of a larger celebration and commemoration of those lives that were not only lost, but also to do things the right way. And to really put those tombstones back. You cannot erase the lives and legacies of Black people because you deem them disposable. And so I'm so glad that those tombstones are salvageable, and I'm so glad a lot of the names are on there because a part of the plays have to do with the historical context. So a lot of the names, a lot of the years, the careers, all of that is going to be taking part in play, and a lot of them, they passed before we started archives, before we started keeping records. So a lot of them passed away before we could even keep track of who they were, what they did. So a lot of them, all we know was their name. We don't know how many kids they had. We don't know what kind of jobs they had. We don't know what city they're from, where they're born and raised. There are no records of these folks if you died before the year 1880 something. And so I'm just so glad to be able to take part and righting the wrongs of such a racist legacy of removing tombstones, picking and choosing the lives that you deem worthy of respect. And so I'm excited to do this play, to do things the right way. It's disgusting, Tawanda. I mean, just thinking about it, where it's sick. And it was, and a part of the challenge was writing the play was, because there was so little information, you didn't even know how to even do it. I mean, just imagine having a loved one pass and all you have is a name. You don't even have an age, or you don't have anything. So it was part of the challenge, and it was sad. I'm sitting here trying to write a play on somebody, and all I have is their first name because records weren't being kept. Or maybe they did have records and they burned down or something. Just an improper management of history and an improper treatment of the lives and the stories that we tell. And so I think we really take it for granted what we have. We have social media now. When we pass on, our names you can Google us and we will pop up. And so to think that these folks might have fought in the Civil War, or may have many activists, might have been a rebel, resisting the, and we don't even have anything for it. And so this celebration is the least that we could do to remember and reflect and celebrate those lives.
No, I definitely appreciate that. And can you give us information on, like, if we wanted, like, where can we go get the tickets? Like, what's, like, just the information, because that sounds amazing. Like, and it's just said, like, even though it's a play, but I'm so glad you guys are honoring them. But this is real life stuff. Like, Hollywood couldn't make this stuff up. And that is sad and disgusting. Had you not brought that to light, that would have been another part of that dirt swept under this filthy rug. Like, so could you give us, like, a little details of when the play is expected to start? Where is it going to be at?
Yeah, so it's going to be the 15th, 16th, and 17th of this month. That's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I believe. Not this coming weekend, but next weekend. And it's going to be on the grounds. It's going to be at the location because they said that they're going to build a garden. They're going to put a whole I think they want to do like a water fountain or something that they wanted to do it. But everything is taking place on the grounds, and it's going to happen at, I believe, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock each afternoon, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 15th, 16th, and 17th. Tickets are free, and I can the link is on my Facebook, but Warrior says I can send it to you as well, so that other people who don't have me as a friend can join in.
No, I definitely appreciate that. And then looking at these times and just thinking that literally on the 18th, which would be the next day, even though the play is not happening, that Monday, literally at 7 o'clock is when my brother started being brutally murdered by 17 maniacs. 17 maniacs. It's disgusting. So I definitely want to come through and see it. It's just like so. And I just praise you because I wasn't laughing, but you cracked me up. Like you so truthful and funny. Like sometimes you gotta laugh to avoid from crying, but I was crying laughing off your page. You like where are the naysayers now when you started first doing it, everybody was telling this is so sad and it resonated in so many ways and avenues. Like you had teachers telling you, oh well, you can't do this, but try this type of thing, instead of them pulling you, telling you, oh babe, you could do it, bringing the best out you. They trying to down, and it's sad that we go like our babies are actually going through this in life in real life times now. That's why when any of my students, I don't care how young or old, come to me and say, hey, Mr. One, I want to be, even if they say I want to be I'm in a police officer, they say pig, caught myself. But a police officer, I say, be the best one that you could be. That's amazing. Be the best one that you could be. You know? And but it's like, why shoot down somebody's dream? But I just appreciate you like putting that out there, and I appreciate you not letting nothing stop you. Even though you had a lot of obstacles in the way, you just like jumped over them and just kept it pushing, and I just commend you for doing that. I really do.
Well, I commend you for being a good teacher that sees the value and worth of your students, especially Black people. We need to know that we can do it. Whatever we set our mind to, we can do it. And not only can we do it, but we can be some of the best at it. And it's unfortunate. Again, just growing up in South Carolina, I did not have a Black teacher until high school. And so all elementary, middle, I didn't have anybody who looked like me to instill in me that kind of. And so for you to be reaching them at such a young age is so crucial, Warrior Sis. It really is. Because by the time they get to middle and high school, they've heard all kinds of nasty things. Sometimes it's that much harder to reach them. And so I'm just thank you so much for really instilling trust and encouraging faith in your kids.
No, thank you for acknowledging that. But like I had the cutest, like we're in the camp, so of course we know school year is not on, we in camp. But I had the cutest little boy in my class in my camp, right? He came to me this morning, and so as his mother dropping him off, she's like, hey, Mr. Wanda, he's Joshua's taking you to Disney World. I'm like, oh, okay, come on, Josh. Okay, boy, that's my big boy. Okay. But he gave me this. I wish I would have had it, but I put it in my little locker at work. But it's this little thing that say something about swimming, but it's a little tag, look like he got it off a towel or something with mother. But he believed that's our ticket. He's like, yeah, all day kept on. Mr. Wanda, we're going to Disney World. Just me and you. Mommy's gonna drive us to the airport, and it's gonna be me and you. I was like, okay, baby, I got our ticket. So I hung it up so he could see it all day long. He just kept, yeah, we're going to Disney World. And everybody else trying to say, we going to it. I'm like, but I think that's the case. But that's just like tapping into their good stuff, just letting whatever you, because if you can dream it, you can do it. If you got that vision, it's there, make that connection. So I just appreciate you not just only being a dreamer, but being a go-getter, just doing it. And I know the best is yet to come in this case. Like I see you, I'm telling you, I don't know why I see you as being in the politicians, but I can see that happen because I remember one time before you was like you were thinking about entering Poopy Hall. but maybe one of these days you woke and you'll be the baddest council person or whatever occupation, and you're gonna be amazing at it. Like you're amazing with what you're doing, writing your poems and your books and all that good stuff. So I just really appreciate you. I really do. And it kind of take me back to like when you said about they were trying to erase our history and they don't want us to have anything. I was like, you disrespect the dead folks that probably fought for America, and you want to wipe them away and deem who you think should be there and who should. And that's what they're doing. And I think about when we had one at that I forgot where it was at. I think it was in Perm Park. It was at the park. We were trying to fight to have our platform for all the victims of police brutality. That nice space that we wanted to do, and the commissioner boldly came down and said, "Oh no, that's disrespectful because you got the fallen officers. They had like maybe 5 or 6 fallen officers." I'm like, "Oh hell no, that's not disrespectful. Matter of fact, if y'all trying to bridge this gap, why is y'all deeming victims of police brutality that are way outnumbered than these fallen officers that these fallen officers sign up and they know that they can get killed from the fighting their line of duty and things of that nature, but regular constituents that's going home on a traffic stop should not die. They weren't expecting to, I'm gonna die because I'm black, or I'm gonna die because I got a maniac cop on my heels. You get what I'm saying? But what better way to give us that park, right? And they had the racist Columbus statue over there. But what better way to give us that park, give us that space, and then who knows? I would have been there maybe doing on the 18th on Monday. I could have been right there and started going to go relive the nightmare where my brother got killed. I could have been right there with candles, right there in that space. You get what I'm saying? And then who knows? It could have been a fallen officer wife who could have been right there mourning the death, and me and her could have bonded and became friends. And she could have seen, I could have showed her from my perspective as losing someone through police violence, and she could have showed me from her perspective as losing someone from, her officer being murdered, and being as though I dealt with a police officer before. I had to worry about, hey, was he going to make it back home to me? So I know how it is to be on both sides of the fence. So, but it's just sad, like, so, but I'm just glad that, you're doing the stuff you're doing, and I definitely will be there to see that play. Probably that Sunday, I'm thinking. Probably that Sunday. And it'll probably be I might go before then because I'll probably be really emotional because Monday will be right there. But I might come that, but I'm definitely going one of those days, definitely.
I appreciate that, Warrior Sis. And if you do come on Sunday, it's at 2:00. I think I said the wrong thing. So it's 7 Friday and Saturday, but it's on Sunday. It's going to be at 2.
Okay, I might that Sunday then. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and I just wanted to say that what you are doing right now, you are preventing what has happened to these folks. What happened to what you are doing is you are preventing Tyrone from becoming what these folks have become, right? These folks have, and their lives have been discarded, forgotten about, and what this is exactly what West Wing is all about. Because if they could have it their way, and you say this all the time, if they could have it their way, we would not be talking about Tyrone West right now. We would, I mean, it's sometimes you mention Corrine Gaines' name, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that from 2016. It's like, no, but we're still speaking on it. We're still speaking on it. We are keeping these folks' name alive because if they could have it their way, it would be blotted out. It'd be erased. Tyrone would be a tombstone tossed off somewhere. Raymond Sutt, Anthony Anderson, Timothy Fleming, all of them would just be tossed off and casted off. So for what other people might see as just us standing out speaking into void, that's not what it is. Don't be so narrow-minded. Don't be so narrow-minded. People are like, oh, West Wednesday still, I kid you not, people say, oh, West Wednesday still going on? Oh, they still out there? Yes. Well, what are they still doing? What is still out there for anybody listening? What do you mean no one's listening? People are listening. And each and every Wednesday, you are doing what has to happen, or else it gets swept. It has to happen. What you are doing is essential work. You are saying that in the midst of all of these names that keep getting added to the list, Tyrone West will not be swept up underneath. and it's very important work. So I don't want this. The play has a very modern element to it too, because I don't want people to think this is just something that happened way back when, right? Oh, this could never happen again. No, it's still happening.
It's
Folks
still
are
happening.
still getting murdered, and in name you give it 6 months to a year, and it's done. It's done, and we already seen it now with George Floyd. They down painted murals. They down went to court. They down rebuilt that police precinct. They down cleaned everything up. Penn and North, the CVS is all fixed up. You know, Emmanuel AME. We just had the anniversary on June 17th of Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, where that nasty, filthy bastard Dylan Roof went in there and killed those people when they were praying. And it would be just as easy. The church has been cleaned up. They've been having church services since then, but we have chosen to continue to amplify and magnify those names because it is very important that we don't be gaslighted and that we don't be into thinking that because it was so long ago that the effect of it no longer matters. That's bullshit. We're not going to accept that.
And that's the truth, because even though like it's 9 years, it seems like it's been 9 days. Like the pain resonates so hard, and I can only imagine how Sister Queen Nicole feels having her lose her beautiful daughter Aja, as well as her father-in-law, who she never got a chance to meet, but she still is so gracious. So, oh my God, like, so she just always lifts her father-in-law names up, and not only does she lift it up, she bring the flame and lift it up and everything, no matter where she goes at. And you know, it's just sad. But why do we have to do this? Why can't our loved ones be right here with us? You know, it's just really sad. But at the end of the day, it's just like we got work to do. And I'm glad you even brought up Corinne Gaines' name, because last week we had her brother on here uplifting her name on Facebook, and the media was playing so much of dirty tricks. It kept bumping them off. We couldn't hear him. We had Brother Boom on here. We still kept the fire blaze. It still kept on. They didn't stop us all the trickery. They were trying to knock us and bump us off. And thanks to Uncle Bill, who was able to put him through the audio. And for one moment, we thought that wasn't going to happen, because they even kind of muted Uncle Bill off for a second. There was a lot of tomfoolery going on. So that stuff is real. And then you see how you got on here crystal clean, nothing, just straight, nothing, easy, you know. But hey, it is what it is. But yeah. But I want to check in real quick. But before I check in with Marcellus, I want to ask our Queen Nicole, is there anything that she would like to share? And again, you know, my heart always goes out to you, my queen, because God knows I don't ever want to know what it feels like to lose a child. Like I feel like all of our children should be, at one point when we live our life to the fullest extent, they should be burning us. They shouldn't be burning us because police officers kill us or we were just murdered. They should burn us from old age, sickness, whatever, that type of thing. You know what I mean? But my heart goes out with you, and like no mother should ever go through lose, whether it's community violence, police brutality, all that is still hand in hand together, because they save who they want to save, and they let die whoever they want to let die. And before I go into you real quick, I just had a thought, and I don't want it to lose my mind because I got so much going on, and I know I'm scrambling, but it's just so much happening. It is what it is. But what I wanted to say, it's real interesting how the hospitals are still treating families. They're still using this COVID things, not letting family members stay overnight with their loved ones to watch. But yet you can walk around the whole city. Like I was in New York, nobody had a mask on me. Everybody was looking at me like I was sick when I had my mask on. It was to the point I got so hot and sweaty I had to take it off and stay my distance and hurry up. But nobody, like, you're not even required to wear a mask when you are in a vehicle driving with a Uber. You don't have to have a mask on. And I'm like, wait a minute, the COVID skip. But meanwhile, at these hospitals all over the world, they have this COVID thing that, hey, oh, you can't stay here. It's only 1 or 2. They're limited. See, a lot of people are using our pain for their gain. This is the way, because you know that, especially with Black family folks, you know, when we have a crisis at our, we bring the whole entire damn family. We fill up the waiting room, the hospital hospital room. We take turns. We on shift, lottie dottie, and everybody there to be with their loved one, and that's how it should be. Because then we making sure we letting them nurses and doctors know do what you gotta do to save our loved one or whatever they going through. Do what you gotta do. But now you can't do this, you can't do that. Make it make sense to me, my brother. Like, why it's like I know why they're doing it, but do you realize that they're still doing this? This is still currently going on. Literally, like I had a family member that was sick, and literally they had to, like, his wife and his child had to take turns going up, and no one could stay in the night. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? But yet you can go to the airframe, the fireworks, everything is lit. Like, make it make sense. So, like, what's your input or intake on that, my brother?
I was actually just talking about the fireworks just yesterday, because there was one year we didn't have the money. I don't know if y'all remember. It was one year they canceled it and they blamed it on the budget. And it's very interesting that suddenly we have money to not only give to fireworks and the whole celebration, but now we have the increase of the police budget again after all kinds of folks showed up to Taxpayers Night. You had all kinds of folks showed up to Taxpayers Night. Shout out to Organizing Black for organizing the demonstrations in front of City Hall that they were doing, as well as putting the names of Free Keith Davis Jr. and a couple of other names on the War Memorial Building. And then you had certain council people who who said that they weren't going to go to Taxpayers Night, which was to me what blew me, because at the end of the day, you have a job to do. You don't get to just opt out of your job because people already know how things are going to go. No, we need you to be there to show up and to show out on behalf of the people that you say you're going to be representing. And then you said all of this, Ryan Dorsey. You said all of this just to vote yes on the budget. So talk about Mr. Taxpayers Night. You're upset. You're outraged because City Hall to keep doing the same old, right? You're giving out the illusion that maybe, just maybe, you might vote differently. Maybe, just maybe, you might vote no. Instead, you voted yes. It was a unanimous vote. It was a unanimous vote. So I don't give a damn about a progressive council person. In 2016, all of these new council people came in, and what did they? Oh, we got a new city council. They're young now. That was the rhetoric. They're young now. They're fresh. A lot of them hasn't had elected official seat before. A lot of them have never been in politics before. They're all young and fresh. Out with the old and in with the new. That's what they said. Only for us, same thing. Only for us to get the same thing. So I just want to say, I'm gonna be honest with you. I missed the last part of your question, Tawanda, but I did want to say that piece.
Yeah, no, but I wanted to, so the last part of my question was, even though we're going through the pandemic, all this stuff, why is it that everything else is opening up? People are, you can wear a mask, you don't have to wear a mask type of thing. But meanwhile, all the hospitals all around the world have this COVID thing where as though no, they're limiting families to be with their loved ones in emergency crisis, right? And saying that you can't spend a night with your loved one in the hospital no more. You got to come through visiting hours, and it only can be a certain amount of people for this COVID thing. I was saying that, like, normally, like, God forbid, an emergency happens where as though the family got to call a family and put them on point so-and-so in the hospital. The whole entire family going to show up. You get what I'm saying? Like, we would have the whole entire waiting room, like, packed, you know, and we would be respectful enough to take our turn to go up and round ship, and whoever spend the night one night, you have an auntie switch out, a cousin, a little brother, whoever. But now they done stop all that. My thing is, if everything else is open and back up, business as usual, why is the place that's supposed to be opened up, where loved ones get in critical states, especially with all this community. Just imagine, God forbid, like somebody, all these shootings, these random shootings every night. You tell a family that, oh, we can only have so many people up. Like, ain't nobody trying to hear that. Why is that still going on? That was my question. That was the meat of my question.
And that's a good question. That is a great question. I'm gonna tell y'all, I had jury duty today, and I kid you not, ain't nobody in there had a mask on.
See?
So you would think, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I don't know why that is.
No, but I'm gonna tell everybody this is what I believe. They're, like I said, they're using our pain for their damn game. So it breaks down to whoever they want to save or whatever the hell they want to do. We need to start shutting these damn hospitals down. We need to start doing active protests around these hospitals with these foolishness of rules. The rules should be out the window now. We over there say anytime people could be at jury duty with no mask. I'm the only person in New York City with my damn mask, so I had to take it off. I was so hot and sweaty. But I'm like, oh my God, please don't let me get sick, type of thing. But nobody had but yet the hospitals want to use that if something happens with your loved one, especially with all the rates of our black babies getting shot up every night, all type of stuff, you're going to limit their families from coming inside of a hospital, the most crucial place that we need to be with our loved one. And it shouldn't be no restriction because it wasn't before, but they ran it in the hole. It never used to be a restriction, even if it was like a certain little restriction, like, well, okay, we can't have the whole family spend a night, but only one can stay in the room all night. The rest of y'all can limited to be in the waiting room type of thing. But for them to cut all that down, like, oh, just call us. No, man, we ain't trying to hear none of that. So that was like, so yeah.
And I agree with that. The rules should be, I agree with that 100%. And the way I see it is, if the rules ain't going to be universal, get rid of them. If it's not going to apply to everything, don't have them. The fact that you can go in certain places and you need a mask, you can go in other places, you don't need them. Like you said, you can go down to the fireworks, you can go down to the Ravens game, the Orioles game, and do whatever and do anything. But you can't go to the hospital. But you can't even
go to the hospital,
to see your loved one.
Yeah, you cut down. You can't even stay the night. Like a husband can't even stay by his wife's side 24 hours. A mother can't stay with her child 24 hours because no, man, we need to shut these hospitals down. I'm trying to
it's ridiculous.
Shut the rooms down. Like,
it's ridiculous. I had a loved one. Oh, I'm sorry, Boris, sis.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
I was just going to say I had a loved one, who had to go to a psychiatric center. He had a breakdown. He was going through a lot, as we all are, right? But he was just overwhelmed with life. He needed to check himself.
Hear that on the
the University of Maryland. He had to check himself into the University of Maryland the psych unit. And he was in there for about 3.5 to 4 days. And I kid you not, I could not stop by and visit him. And he had no one that was able to come and visit him. And I tried to call. I wanted to come down and see him, and I could not see him. Every day I would get just a little phone call, a tiny little phone call window, just to hear his voice and to make sure he's good. And it just makes no sense. My friend is He's in the he needs mental health care, and he needs support, from the people who know him. Right? It's great that he's in there with medical professionals, things like that. But I know for me, if I was in a psych ward, I would want somebody to come, not even psych ward, a hospital. I would want somebody to be able to stay the night with me, to check in with me, and to make sure that I'm good. My father was in a motorcycle accident in 2018. And I'm so grateful for those moments that I got to spend to stay there with him, and to think that something like that could happen and I'm not able to see or stay tonight is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I remember when my Uncle Clifton passed away, he suffered from cancer. When they put him on hospice care, my whole entire family, we shut that damn hospital down. We was there, and thank God it wasn't in the COVID time. But shortly after that, we became, but we would have, man, they probably would have had me and my whole family arrested, because we was by his bedside every night, 2 or 3 of us. We kind of broke that rule. They like, well, one of y'all 2, no, 3 of us staying over here, Buggy. Like that's sad, but yeah, we need to really investigate what's going on. Because God forbid, don't wait till your loved one is in the hospital and die in
Exactly.
need of needing you by their side in the hospital, still playing these COVID games, but yet everything else is open. But they're telling you, oh, because of COVID restrictions, you can't come back here. No, man, no, ain't nobody trying to hear that. But anyway, I want to check in real quick with
No.
my sister Nicole to see if you want to say anything before we actually go through, because I know we have a whole, I see the boards lit up with questions, and I'm going to check in with Marcellus. But Nicole, my queen, what do you want to add to the conversation? Mic check.
Mike Check.
Mike
I
check.
just want to add to the conversation as far as, you know, like you was just talking about the hospitals and stuff like that. Now, this is what really cooks my salad. My brother / uncle, because that's how close we were, he went and got vaccinated for the COVID and everything. He had underlying health problems and stuff like that. And shortly after getting vaccinated, he died. My uncle / brother, like I said, stayed going to his regular checkups and things like that. I told them, y'all can keep that crap. I'm not being nobody's damn guinea pig. I have not had COVID. I ain't been nowhere near COVID, and I ain't been vaccinated for a damn thing. I refuse. Y'all can take that and shove it up your hind parts before you stick me with that shit. And then you turn around and you get the shot. Then you got the booster. Then you got another booster after that. Then you got another booster after that. I'm not no damn pin cushion. Y'all ain't gonna keep on sticking me with all them needles. Are you crazy? But see, they do this stuff just like y'all said with the hospitals and everything. You know, they pick and choose who they really want to help. They pick and choose who is allowed to have their loved ones in there. And I just heard of a situation earlier today. I'm not going to put the person's name and stuff out there, but they were told that because their child had got sick with the COVID, that even if they had it, they still had to come to work. The lies you tell, because if I'm sick, I'm staying home. I am not going to risk my health as well as somebody else's when I know that something is wrong with me. I mean, your mental status is just not there for you to even do something like that. And getting on back to the police brutality situation, my father-in-law, Anthony Anderson, was killed in 2012, September the 21st. That day will always ring bells because that was also my niece-in-law's birthday. So she's always going to remember her birthday as the day she lost her grandfather. That is really sick and twisted. And my husband, I was trying to be there for him, console him, love him, tell him everything is going to be okay. Only for 2 weeks later, they blew my daughter's head off. She was 16 years old. What makes that so bad is that just because the police didn't actually do it themselves, they're still responsible because my daughter witnessed a murder. That was her death sentence right there because they questioned my child without the presence of her parents or an attorney. And you're not supposed to question a minor without having some kind of adult there with her. And they rendered her as a snitch and they blew her damn head off. 2 weeks after my father-in-law got murdered, who was brutally beat to death by the Baltimore City Police Department. So instead of me continuing to be there for my husband and being that shoulder that he needed to lean on through this tragic, disgusting act that happened to his father, now you got to be 10 times stronger because now you can't grieve the way you need to because now you have to be here for me because my daughter was just murdered. How sick is that? So I've been on both sides of the street. You know, I've been on the side of the street with the police brutality. Then I had to cross the street to the community violence and everything. When is it going to end? And the thing about it, and what We fail to realize. See, I'm gonna get serious with y'all real quick. This is what y'all fail to realize. We are the most intelligent, the most resourceful, the most tough people on this planet, but we don't realize it. We're walking around killing each other and acting like life just does not matter. They're trying to get rid of us because a white man fears a strong, educated black man more than any beast on this planet. And I don't give a damn who heard it. I don't care how y'all feel about it, but the truth is the light. We are educated. We built this country. We, even when we couldn't read and write, we still taught people on how to do things, on how to survive. We survived on scraps, things that y'all didn't want, things that really wasn't edible at that time. But we still survived. We still pushed on. And even with me going to go see Harriet Tubman Museum last Saturday, I learned so much about this woman that I didn't even know. But you have people like that who paved the way for us to be able to walk down the street and see a white person or see anybody and speak and not be accused of trying to harm them in any way, but we still allowing them to enslave us because prison is nothing but modernized slavery. And that's what the police are, modernized slave catchers, because they come in here and they supposed to protect and serve, but they don't do nothing but protect and serve themselves. They'll get out there and it'll be just like you said about the school or whatever. Y'all took 2 hours to get into this school when, first of all, the damn door wasn't locked. Y'all stood in that school right beside the classroom door and listened to these children losing their lives, and nobody went in that classroom to stop this fool from killing these babies who did absolutely nothing wrong to him. Now you go on social media and stuff and you take stuff down and you say this is not becoming of our platform with these little young dumb girls on here shaking their hind parts all over the place. You watching that, but you mean to tell me you're not watching these people on here telling you what they're going to do, where they're going to go, how they're going to do it, how they got the weapons and stuff? Y'all don't see none of this. Y'all don't see people putting 189 pages of mass murderers that they know that they're going to do on these social medias, and y'all can't catch these people? Man, get out of my face, because it's a bunch of malarkey. Y'all know what y'all doing. Y'all trying to get rid of us, but you fail to realize we were the first and we're going to be the last. You can't get rid of us. If you go to the moon, we're going to be there. How you doing? How you train doing? You want some of these hot dogs and hamburgers? We got some collard greens over here, so it's nothing you can do to escape us, because we are America. Plain and simple as that. Mic check.
Mic check. Well, that was a lot.
Mic check.
But I'm not following up behind that. I'm just going to go straight to our brother Marcellus. But you definitely brought the flame, and I appreciate you coming from, a loving place and how you feel and your opinions that are your opinions. So, mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Can you hear me?
Mic check.
Angela says mic check. Bill says, hello, West Wednesday supporters. Great to be here with you and for the long-term struggle to end police terror. Angela says, mic check. We want an answer. Marilyn Mosby, stop begging for money and prosecute the killer cops, period. Bill says, yes, Angela. Seriously and rigorously prosecute and incarcerate the killer cops. AC Britt says, mic check. Bill says, yes, I'm with you, Tawanda, about being past reform. Of course, we have to fight today for accountability, but that's not enough. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a cancer. The systemic cancer has to be fully defeated. AC Britt says, Baltimore City has a long legacy of grave desecration. I have an entire book on it. Hillary says, there has been a long history of disrespect of Black folks by whites in all kinds of ways. Art and performance is such a good way to encourage folks to think and learn. Thank you, Sifu. AC Britt says the shopping center off of Bel Air Road that butts up against Sinclair Lane, where Foreman Mills is built on top of the first and oldest African American cemetery. The city claimed they couldn't locate family members to re-enter them someplace else, so built right on top of the graves.
Oh my God! Wow.
Hillary says, Tawanda, you are surely an amazing teacher, both in your classroom and in your activism. Thank you. Bill says, from checking your site, Sifu, the play is at 7 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, the 15th and 16th. But on Sunday, it's at 2 p.m. Black P girl says, good afternoon, beautiful people. This is Kia. AC Britt says, hey, Kia. Bill says, glad you're here, Kia. Kia says, speak on it. West Wednesday will continue because he has a stronger sister who will never let his name be in vain. Kia also says, it's called population control. The rules are applied to what people want them to be applied to. It's a bunch of BS. I'm just saying. It's a lot of things closed to the public, things that should be open. Clinics are still doing phone calls, but no in-person appointments. It's sad. Bill says, staying with a loved one in the hospital in addition to providing support is also important. So there's someone actively advocating for the best possible care. He says people are fully vaccinated with booster shots and they still contract COVID. I'm just saying. And then AC Britt says, yes, Nicole, speak it. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
And thank you, Marcella, because that was a lot of comments and questions. So thank you for always doing that. And just, I want to give a big special shout out to the West Coalition, period, just for all the stuff that we do. And I just want to thank everybody out here that's doing boots on the ground, like literally that's making a difference, because we are different makers. Like no matter what you put to the table, we need it. Whether it's just a phone call, calling Merlin Mosley and telling them, hey, we demand answers. You know, we're not worrying about your financial woes, like my sister Angela always says. We deserve an answer. You know, so that's where we are with it. But it's interesting that the city hate her, and I know we got a list of reasons why we don't like her either. You know, because this facade that she puts on, we get it. But the part that stands out to me the most is because she pretended that she was going to do something for Freddie Gray and that did something that never was done before, and they hate her for that. And that's sad. Like, you hate a person for standing up for black people, even though she didn't bring it home. She acted like she was, but that's just sad. So it makes me really feel some type, but it makes me feel like, who is going to come into office now? What y'all going to hide behind y'all balls or pretend to do stuff and put on for? We need real help. Like, we need real help, real boots on the ground. We don't need nobody pretending. We don't need nobody talking this good old speech. Y'all hold y'all peace, or I'm going to fight for justice. We don't need none of that foolishness. We really need you to be swinging and holding everybody accountable. Start from the dirty pigs. You have to hold them accountable first. But everybody else want the pigs to get them in. And that's why I be looking at whoever the pigs support. I don't. Because all they doing is pushing their narrative. I'm just going to be honest. That's all they doing is pushing their narrative. They want somebody in there that's going to over-incarcerate our people, you know, give us 55 years for selling marijuana, but you can legally go buy it and wherever, at all these, you know, incineraries and things of that nature. It's just sad and disgusting. And speaking of sad and disgusting, unfortunately, this is the time where we have to go and read this community violence list. But before I go there, because I don't ever want us to interrupt showing our love and peace to the victim family. So I want to ask this is your moment, that if anything that you haven't gotten off your chest, a question, a thought, this is the moment where you can speak and say something, and we can give you a little bit of feedback or whatever. or you just want to be heard, that's fine. But let's do it now before we go into the sacred grounds of reading victim family names, and then we start asking questions or giving comments, because that's not appropriate. We don't want a family member that may be tuning in for West Wednesday for the first time, and they're like, oh my God, these people are really lifting up my loved one name. They're humanizing my loved one, and they're feeling good about that. And then we go in with some side talk. We want to leave everybody with the memories of these beautiful stolen lives. Like, they didn't ask to be murdered. You know what I mean? Nobody wakes up and say, hey, today I want to be murdered. Nobody asks that. So right now, any of the West Coalition members, anybody that's on this panel want to speak about something they didn't get a chance to speak about, the conversation or the corruption that we talk about, this is your moment to speak. Mic check.
Mic check. Good evening. I would like to add one thing to the conversation tonight, and that is 3 or 4 days ago in Boston, there was a violent white supremacist group called the Patriot Front. They changed their name. They used to be called Vanguard America, and they were the ones a few years back in Charlottesville, Virginia, that had that Unite the Right rally, and they killed someone who was there against racism, a woman named Heather Heyer. So they changed their name to the Patriot Front, and they just had a march in Boston of about 100 people. And a gentleman was passing the march, happened to be a black man named Charles Murrell, and he went to take a picture, and they attacked him. He had stitches in his hand, he got cuts to his head, and the police did not step in to stop that beating, that racist beating by the Patriot Front. And speaking as a member of Progressive Labor Party, I just want to point out that in the past, when possible, we have organized to break up rallies by the Ku Klux Klan and other violent racist groups, the skinheads here in Baltimore. There was once a time when one of the Klan leaders, a guy named David Duke, he said in the Klan newspaper that had it not been for our strategy of stopping them, they would have been much, much larger. And standing up to them and stopping them is very important. It's a mistake to think the government's going to do that for us. Like Boom says, we all we got, we all we need. It's up to us to organize to stop the development of these fascist groups. So I just wanted to throw that into the discussion tonight. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Tawanda, I'd like to add something to that as well.
Please do.
So Patriot Front, I actually got featured on the news a year or two ago because I had scraped off Patriot Front stickers. Patriot Front went through downtown Baltimore during one of our protests. I can't remember which protest it was. It was Black Lives Matter. It was Organized Black, West Wednesday. I'm not sure which one it was, but I had noticed these stickers up on the poles on the outskirts of where we were, and I looked them over. I looked them up, and I realized that they were stickers by white supremacists. So I figured out and started tracking them. You know, I'm from the woods, and so I started tracking them like you would track an animal in the woods. And I followed the path that they walked all the way around downtown and around City Hall, and I scraped them off with my knife. And a reporter walked up to me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm scraping off these white supremacist stickers." So, you know, just because Baltimore is a majority black city, don't think that that group is not around, because they are. They are around. They come to our protests and they watch us from the sidelines.
Thank you so much for sharing, and thanks, Uncle Bill, for bringing that up. These are important points. Like, a lot of these things we don't even know, and I want to check in and see if anybody else wants to say or add anything to the conversation. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Hey, what's going on? Long time. I'm normally always working, so how's everybody been?
We hanging in there, my brother. Good to see your face in the place.
Likewise. You know, I'm quite sure I could never go after my wife, you know, because she's just phenomenal at the speaker thing, whatever. She just blows up the whole thing. But I'm trying my best. Just to reiterate some of the things that she was saying about, you know, just this police brutality thing is just a whole mess. Now, I can say, you know, and I may be wrong, don't quote me on this, but it has slowed down a little bit, but it's still out there to where as though it still needs our attention. So I say that to say this: we definitely have to continue to fight for those who may not have a voice or may not know how to have a voice, because there's a whole lot of people out there and a whole lot more cases out there that goes, you know, unheard, and a whole lot of murders that go unsolved every year. So with that being said, we have to continue to be the voice for those as well. And we have to just continue to put it out there, continue to share it, whatever knowledge that we may have, things like that, because you never know, more and more people may come forth just by you even mentioning some of their loved ones' names that may have been victims of police brutality. You know, and that may bring some people forward that, you know, may have been scared or things like that, because a lot of people do be threatened out here as far as the police is concerned and speaking up against them. You know, I'm not afraid. I can go today or tomorrow. At the end of the day, I know where I'm going at. You know, I'm blessed and highly favored by the best. You know, but at the end of the day, we have to continue to fight. You know, for those who may not know me, I'm the son of Anthony Anderson. He was brutally murdered and back in 2012, right there on Biddle and Montfort area, right there in the middle of the parking lot. He was purchasing some things from the corner store, and the police crept up behind him while he was walking back towards my grandmother's house, because we were preparing for my 2-year-old niece's birthday. So they never announced themselves. They hoisted him over their heads, and they continued to beat that man to death. He died right there on that lot in front of my grandmother and also in front of my sister and my nieces. So not only do she have to reminisce about her birthday, it's also the death date of her grandfather. So it's tragedy all in one. Granted, I'm glad, you know, she was the age that she was at the time, so she vaguely remembers. So that's a gift and a curse within itself. But we continue to remind her each and every day, as much as we can, that, you know, your grandfather was preparing for this tremendous event, a very happy event for you, before he met his demise. In front of my grandmother, they threatened my grandmother as well, told that if she didn't back up, that this will happen to you as well. And they tried to tell her, oh, he's just faking because he doesn't want to go to jail. My father wasn't scared of anything. That was the last thing he was scared of. So for you to say that and continue to try to hoist him up on your knee while he was dying to make it seem like, oh, he just overdosed. And they try to scour over the area to try to find some empty vials to try to place on his person.
Mm-hmm.
Basically back up their corrupt story. Mm-hmm. While the ambulance was there, they tried to administer Narcan. They tried to say he overdosed, because they also tried to say that he was involved in a hand-to-hand transaction as he was coming out the package goods store. Now you don't know what that was about. First they tried to say, oh, he tried to sell some drugs to somebody. Then he tried to say, oh, he was trying to purchase some drugs with somebody. But you guys never sat there and followed behind the guy who they supposedly said that he had a hand-in-hand transaction with. So there was so many loopholes in their story. And then while they were administering Narcan, the man was already dead. So they just did that to cover up their own tracks. And they held the ambulance people up for 2, maybe 3 hours at the time. And they even tried to get them to corroborate their story, saying that he overdosed. Medical examiners deemed it a homicide right off the bat. So anything that they could say as far as he had a drug overdose or anything like that, that was flown out the window. Shortly after that, that same day, the same crew, they went right up there on off a Monument. They went right up there on Northeast Market and broke somebody's collarbone. So these are corrupt cops all the way around the board, and it's just so sickening that this continues to happen. Things like that. Shortly afterwards, we continue to get threats by the police about coming forward with any of these cases and things like that. They flattened my tires when we was at a city hall meeting, discussing. I think it was a panel event. We was discussing things that need to be changed as far as these laws are concerned with police and police brutality. So they flattened my tires. They jumped out on one of my brothers and threatened him at gunpoint. Tried to search the premises where he was at. They searched the car, things like that. We just received a lot of threats as far as that is concerned. They pulled me over and handcuffed me because they thought I had a warrant for my arrest, which was totally false. Just because they knew who I was. Right. You know, I'm still not hiding. I see them every day, but we just gotta continue this fight because this is a very sickening fight, and I'm sorry that we have to meet on these such situations to become family. Yes. You know, but I love each and every one of y'all, even though I can't make it all the time because like I said, most of the time I be at work. So you know, I just want you to know that the love is always there. And I appreciate you guys continuing to fight for my family and continuing to keep my father's name out there. Because once we silence their names, we silence their legacies. So we have to continue to fight. We have to continue to say their names. Mic check.
Mic check. And I want to add to what you said, my brother, because it was key points. And these key points are very crucial for somebody that may be going through this. It's always a different victim's name, but the same game. The stuff that you
absolutely.
So in my brother's case, and me still learning new things, I just recently learned through a Public Information Act that they gave my brother Novocaine. For what? He didn't have any drugs in his system. So that's what they do to taint and cover their lives. And then I remember when my brother first was murdered, they got Bill Henry to come out and publicly announce and say that my brother possibly died from swallowing the drugs or whatever. And we confronted.
Same thing they said about us.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm making that connection to show you how dirty and corrupt, and this is pattern and practice. This is what they do. So when Bill Henry put that statement out there, we instantly went down there on his ass at City Hall and made him retract his statement. We instantly pulled up on Brandon Scott, who my cousin reminded him that, hey, brother, you look like me and you. Like, you're not going to be saying little things either. Slick out your mouth. And they retracted. And he was like, and Bill Henry was so sorry and humble. And to this day, we became friends today. He was like, I'm so sorry. He said, I just read what the police told me to write. I was representing the police department. I'm sorry. I didn't do any research. They told me pretty much to say this foolishness. So that's what we had in common. And then another thing, when you talk about the flatness of the tire, you were there when we had our big event.
My diamond.
Got the Department of Justice to come down. We had Jill Senator Carter down there at Douglas, the college. We were down there. We had a big town hall where we had people testify. We even had the Officer Torbett family to come and testify in front of everybody how they set him up. You know, he put his gun. It was a real powerful event, and thank God that day that my brother that's right here that can testify and witness said, hey, my queen, are you going near my way? I wasn't even going near his way, but that's my brother. His way is my way. My way is his way. That's how we roll and rock. I'm like, baby, I got you. Come on. And I go out there, my whole tire down, and he like, damn, well, stabbed your tire, and he had to actually jack the car while me and his wife was waiting.
Yep.
He had to jack my car, and then I even called back to the school because I was parked in the professor's spot, and normally where they got the camera right there, and that's why I distinctly parked. But ironically, when I went back for the footage, oh, this is interesting. The footage is gone. Of course it's gone.
Of course it is.
Flashed my goddamn tires and took the video. Of course.
Yeah.
So I just wanted
Of
to share
course.
those key points for anybody that's watching. This is pattern and practice. This is nothing short less of gang members doing what they do, covering their hind parts. That's what they do. So all these key elements that you said is the same. Until this day, I still keep on getting pulled over. When they find out what kind of car I get, low key they start keying it up, little foolishness. But that's not gonna stop me. I'm still out here. Still out here. I'm going nowhere. So they got me going nowhere. So I just
the Blue Klux Klan.
Exactly, the Blue Klux Klan, like I said, the Blue Klux Klan. Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so I just wanted to point those out, and
Absolutely.
yeah. So I just wanted to say that this is designed by fashion. This is what they do. It's a different victim name, but the same game. They always try to dehumanize the victim and make it seem like hey, they had drugs in their system. They were high off of drugs. They were breaking the law. They were this big, deadly criminal that we were afraid of, and they had exuberant strength. And they always die from a heart attack when they beat them to death. They always die from a bad heart. They beat them to death. All this foolishness. And you always have David Fowler that in Baltimore that was sign the paper and say, oh he'll blame everything. Like he went through his own self under the bus. He blamed everything. And the biggest case that was around the world was George Floyd, because the whole world followed that case and the whole world collectively fought. It wasn't just 66, it was a worldwide thing, right? It was real the big scratch of everybody, fighting together type of thing. But he threw himself under the damn bus, and that's why they investigate. But I don't even trust that now, because if, like I started off West Wednesday that you missed because you were still at work, my brother, I said the law department is now, I heard on the news that the law department is not willing to hand over the corruption of all these dirty ass officers. They're hiding corrupted files. They don't, and it's the law department. So and it worked for the attorney general. Like, so who we gonna trust? Who we gonna
exactly
together? Everybody's in the bed together. They pull up their pants, cover themselves up, step away from each other, and do their goddamn job. We might be okay. We might.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to throw that out there and just thank you for those.
Absolutely.
And before I bring on anybody else, I want to check in with Marcellus, because I see where we have a few more questions. Because once we wrap up with, unfortunately, the sad list, we're not going to go back to any comments. So Marcellus, can you read some of the comments that are the new comments? Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
All right. So Kia says, I'm taking a trip down to her office. I don't want answers. I'm demanding answers. I'm not trying to hear nothing. I need to see action. These officers need to be held accountable. Justice for Tyrone West, Benjamin Tyson, Keith Davis Jr., Timothy Fleming. Justice for my sister Nicole, daughter and father-in-law, and all the people who have lost their lives or have been harmed. Disgusting. AC Britt says disgusting. Kia says dirty, corrupt cops. Fuck 12. AC Britt says they're terrorists. Bill says, powerful points, Dream and Kia. I admire your strength and commitment. Kia says it continues because the police are not held accountable for their actions. They feel like they're untouchable. Things have to change. Mic check.
Mic
check.
Mic check.
Mic check. And brother Brian, before we go to the sad list, is there anything you want to add to the conversation before we go into the sad list?
I don't think I can improve on anything that's been said so far.
Okay, awesome. Well, I just want to remind everybody that as we hear the sad list of community violence, which I call unsolved crimes, like we don't know who's doing this. We don't know if it's community members doing it. We know that this is happening in our community, but I'm not sure if all this is community violence. That's not the points of West Wednesday. That is my views. Tawanda Jones. All day, all night. I do not feel like all these homicides that are happening. Then I'm really on the edge of my seat when my brother Ben was telling me about this racist group. I forget the name, and I don't even want to say the name because the hell with them. But if they're still around hanging up stickers and following us to protest, could they be responsible for some of these unsolved homicides? Could they be responsible for some of these bullets that are flying? Because they're so quick to know that we're so quick to blame each other. Let's stop killing each other without even knowing any details. Get the details before y'all go in there, right? And if we are killing each other, we definitely, truly need to stop. Absolutely. Absolutely. But until you get all the details and all that stuff, don't assume that, oh, somebody grandmother just sitting in her bed reading and the bullet hit her, or somebody grandmother was sitting out, or somebody baby. Like, no, what happened to street rules? Like, street rules are no longer apply. That's why you know something's going on. Because even gangsters know that you don't hit elderly people, you don't hit babies. You know what I'm saying? That Lottie Dottie and everybody getting shot right now. And I'm not a gangster, but I do know about street rules because as a black African American queen that was born and raised in the street, you have to have street knowledge. As well as I got the book knowledge, I have street knowledge as well. I was raised by men, so I'm going to have street knowledge as well. But again, before we go into these sad lists where our brother reads off the community unsolved violence and crimes and things of that nature where someone loved one was murdered. This is someone loved one. You can hear a name right now. You might have not seen that person in years, and you might say, well, that name sounds familiar. You might don't even know them by their government name, and it be somebody you know, and do you see their face? That is someone loved one, man. Like someone loved one was murdered, and that's the worst way to go. And any murder is a tragedy. Any death is heartbreaking, but any murder is a tragedy, whether they're killed by the police, whether they're killed from community violence, or however, a murder is a murder. That's not an act of God. So if you are a person that believes in God, you want to pray, please take this minute to pray. And if you don't, I respect that. That's fine because everybody's not religious. Just take the moment to send healing thoughts into the airway. Send positivity thoughts into the airway. And more importantly, let's collectively get together and see how we can think pretty much our way out of this, if it's any way out of this, to see how we can be better watching our community, being gatekeepers, making sure these kind of these tragedies don't happen as randomly as frequently as they are happening. So I want to take 2 minutes, 1 minute for my brother Brian's list, and 1 minute for if Uncle Bill's going to be reading the list or whoever's going to be reading the police brutality list. Let's just take a minute. And I'm quite sure the police brutality list is not going to be probably that long this week because it's almost like as if they give you 35 or 38 names one week. They'll break it down. It's only maybe 4 or 5 this week, and then you'll get another 38 next week. They're going to report what they want us to know. And even with the community violence, they're not going to give us all the community people that were murdered this week. So let's just take these 2 minutes, please, just to show homage to these victims. Mic check, starting now. Thank you. The floor is all yours, my brother. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
So we have a not too long list this week, thankfully. And I would just ask that as I read each name, you echo it back to me. And while you're doing that, think not only of that person, but of their friends and their family and their loved ones. We need to, hold those people in our hearts, pray for them, and work for them, work for healing in our communities. And so I'll begin with Philip Wallace, 31.
Philip
Wallace.
Wallace.
31.
Wallace, 31.
Reginald Johnson, 44.
Reginald
Johnson.
Reginald,
44.
44.
Eddie Palmer, 25.
Eddie Palmer.
Eddie Palmer, 25.
Jamar Roberson, 33.
Jamar Roberson.
Jamar Roberson, 33.
Torrante Stansel, 19.
Torrante
Stansel,
19.
19.
Thank you.
Thank you. Uncle Bill, it's all yours. Mic check.
Mike check.
Mike check.
The list I'm about to read comes from the Washington Post, and they haven't updated it for a while. So it's covering the days from June 27th to June 29th, really just 2 days. And there were 4 police killings during that time. I think the problem may be that they don't devote enough staff members to keeping this list up the way they should and updating it as regularly as they should. The first person I'd like to uphold was killed in Albuquerque, New Mexico on June the 27th. His name has not yet been mentioned. And Nicole, will you be adding on for the unidentified victims? Oh, I guess Nicole's not here. I will do it.
I'll do it.
Cell blocks. Oh, go ahead. Brian, you said you'll do it?
Cell blocks for killer cops. Yes.
Ashe.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. On June the 27th, again, in Arvado, Colorado, 40 years old, killed by police, Isaiah Proctor.
Isaiah Proctor.
In Louisville, Kentucky on June the 28th, 34 years old, killed by police, Samuel Edwards.
Samuel Edwards.
And the last person whose name we're going to be upholding this evening was killed in Saranac Lake. Thank you. Saranac Lake, New York, on June the 29th, has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And next week we will be online. But as we approach my brother's commemoration on the 18th, we will be at the location where my brother was murdered at 7 o'clock on Kentmore Causeway. I will give you more details as we approach. And then we have an outdoor West Wednesday coming up. So after that, well, that same exact week. So again, I want to give a big shout out and sending all my love out to our brother Seifu. Thank you so much for all that you have done, all that you have done and all that you are doing. Thank you, my sister Nicole and her husband Marcus. Thank you guys so much, and just thank the West Coalition. Thank you guys so much, and continue doing the good work. And like my brother said, that play will be showing. I will be sharing the links. If anybody's interested, once he give me the link, I'm going to be sharing it on my page, especially the week before. That way, you guys, it's a free event. Please come out and support. And I'm so proud of my brother. So again, remember, live to love, love to live. And the way we started you off with West Wednesday by showing you this horrible video, because nothing is delightful about victims being traumatized. And then the fact that the abuser, the murderer is still working the beat along with his 16 maniac friends is mind-blowing. And we had Marilyn Moses worrying about securing her seat off of Freddie Graves' seat. You know, it's just sad. It's disgusting. And then all these politicians that are going up for her seat. Like, we need people that's going to really do their jobs, and that's put these killer cops in the cell blocks. The same way, if community people do anything, hold them to you break the law, hold them to the fullest extent of the law. But that should be going down to everybody. Just remember, live to love, love to live. I love you all, and we will see you next week. And please stay tuned. And Marilyn Mosley, we deserve answers. We want an answer. We want an answer. Mic check.
Mic
Mike
check.
Jack.
Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardes Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up.
No, why you
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardes Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Adina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.